Every one of them learns differently. Every one of them has a different interest. Every one of them studies differently. Every one of them responds differently. And we need to treat them like that. For too long, education has been managed by mandating a child to a zip code, wherever they were born and raised. I believe every child deserves a good education, regardless of where they're born and raised. And I believe every parent knows what's best for their child, regardless of their education level. They know in their gut and in their core what works for their child. My son studies very differently than my daughter.
Come on.
And we know what makes them thrive. And if that's a small school, if that's a big school, if that's homeschooling, whatever it is, we have one job as parents. One job. And not only that, you as students, you know what you need. You know whether you like your school or not. You know whether you're learning or not. You know whether you're confident or whether you feel insecure. And so this is really a result of listening. Listening to what parents want, listening to what students want, and for government to realize they don't know better than the rest of us.
Come on.
They just don't. What we need is for government to be a supportive factor, but not a mandating factor. And this came through even more so during COVID. Because what you had was parents knew that their kids needed to learn. And what did government say? Nope. You can't do it. We're going to do it this way. Or we're going to teach you this. Or we're going to push you to do it this way. Or we're just going to close it all together. And now we're going to spend years trying to catch our kids back up. But the answer to catching our kids back up is more charter schools like what we're seeing here. It's more options. It's making sure that we give credits and vouchers and everything to parents regardless of their income level. But let them know that you can take your child wherever you need to go. And so what I will tell you is thank you for using the power of your voice. Thank you for allowing us to come to this amazing school where we know that students should be our #1 priority. But this is an opportunity. Let's take what we've learned over the last few years and say what's working, what's not working, and let's make it more local. Let's move as much of this from the federal government down to the state level. Because when we move it to the state level, that's when you're bringing the resources in. Only 10% of education dollars come from the federal level. But all of the strings and the mandates and the attachments come and affect all of our state dollars. That's not what we need. What we need is the federal government looking at it as standards. Where do we want our kids to be? But getting out of the lives of the classroom, getting away from all of that. And who's the other person that knows better than anything? Teachers. And what are we seeing teachers? Teachers have a hard time. Right now, they're having to be the teacher, the guidance counselor, the pastor, the parent, and everything in between. And they're said, oh, by the way, teach to a test. That's not what they went to school for. And that's why we're losing teachers by the day. So the second we start giving students power, that we start giving parents power, that we start giving teachers power, and we put transparency back in the classroom, and the ability for parents to say, this is what I want for my child, that's when America will thrive like never before. Thank you for letting us come here.
Thank you very much. And what we didn't say is that we were open all through COVID. We were open. Our kids rarely had to pretend they were learning through Zoom. Our kids were here, and our test scores show that the kids that were here, as opposed to the kids that weren't and then came here, there's a difference. So we're glad to do this. And next, with Brian. Brian is a 5th grader, and he's got a story to tell you.
Hello, my name is Brian, and I'm here to talk about socialization difference in public and private schools. In public schools, like say you're at a lunch table or at a recess point, there are specific tables for specific groups, as in such athletes or popular kids or those neutrals. But in charter schools, since there are either 15 or 14 students or 16 students in the class, it makes it easier to socialize and get to know each of them better. But in public schools, this is way harder because since there are specific groups and there are either at least 25 students in the classroom, it's harder to get to know them, to get to hang out with them, to get to actually become friends with them. And sometimes, if you say that you're friends with them, they talk behind your back. The trust level of friendship in public schools is way different than the trust level of friendship in charter schools. In charter schools, since there are people there, you get to know them better, and you get to have the freedom to tell them what you need, and you have the freedom to make you feel better. When you're sad, when you're angry. But in public schools, they can fake friends with constant feelings. And this is one of the reasons why I love Polaris.
Exhibit A. This one's not working? Right. I've yelled at people before. Next, we'd like to have a teacher talk to you who has a wonderful story. So, Miss Gabler is going to tell us her story, and she is a teacher here. If that doesn't work, sorry.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Elizabeth Gabler. I started out as a non-traditional student at Plymouth State College in my 40s. My first college experience in my 40s. And loved it, and learned that we teach the whole student. We care about your feelings. You can't divorce yourself from who you are and say, well, now I'm doing that. It all goes together. And I bought that and believed it wholeheartedly. I moved on to be a teacher here in New Hampshire for 7 years, and then moved on to Georgia for a little while, taught there as well, and found that my experience was increasingly more stressful. There was a lot of pressure to teach to the test. There was a lot of pressure to the point where, trying to keep track of all the data, I was losing track of my students. And that hurts when you buy and you understand that we're all whole people. We all have needs, and that's been spoken of. And I left teaching at that point. My husband and I spent 3 years on the road in an RV, living the lifestyle. It was kind of fun. But we settled back in Manchester, and I needed a job, and I came here as an assistant last year, just a year ago. And what an experience. To be in a school where we learn about social emotional issues. We learn how to teach kids what they need. We follow their growth as students. Yeah, you may not be on grade level yet. You may be ahead of grade level yet. What do you need in order to grow? Because it's all about growing as a student. So I came to Ms. Murdoch last year and said, I loved my experience here as an assistant. Is there teaching open, and can I teach it? And I am so glad to be here. I was in with Brian last year as an assistant, and Lila, who's here as a current student. And there's a joy in coming to work knowing that I really can make a difference. I can help people. You know, we're not going to be perfect. We learn that mistakes are how we learn, and that's what Polaris is all about. Thank you.
So we've heard from a student, we've heard from a teacher. Now we need to hear from a parent, because without the parental involvement here, this doesn't work. To be every single kid that you see in the hundreds that are upstairs that you're not seeing right now, their parents had to take a step forward for them to be here. They had to apply, and then they had to pray. They had to pray that the lottery would pick their number. And I've told people before, the lottery is the day everybody cries. I cried because I'm so happy. And I cried because I was so sad. So now we're going to talk to a parent, and Keith Savage is kind of busy these days. but he made time to come. He's in charge of security at the airport, so he's kind of been busy, but he's here to tell you a story.
So, like you said, my name's Heath Savage. I'm also on the board here as a parent. I have 4 children of my own. My wife and I have fostered numerous kids, and we've adopted 3 kids out of foster care. And this is one of my adoptees right here. His name's Isaac. He's a graduate from here. We're very proud of him. He now goes to Preva Academy, which is also in the city here. And for us as parents, just like what Miss Haley said, it's doing what's best for your children. It's not about what you want. We live in a very traditional school district. It's a very great school district. It just does not work for my 3 youngest children. That's why we decided to go elsewhere. For my wife and I, diversity is a crucial thing in my adopted kids' lives. So not only for them to be around other children that are the same color as them, but they also have mentors to look up to that are professionals, teachers, coaches, things like that. So that's one of the reasons, and one of the biggest reasons that we've chosen to get into the
Thanks, Steve. Now, I'd like to open this thing up, because we don't have a roundtable discussion. We've got a rectangle discussion, right? A rectangle, right? Two-sided. So if anyone has a question for any of the teachers or the students now, or me, or for Jen, the director, or for Miss V, who, how many kids have we taught here? I have a question. And pose it to Nikki Haley or Dr. Saludo.
Yeah. So I just want to share a quick story. So I ended up here. I'm a school choice lady in New Hampshire because of those lotteries that he was talking about. Watching people cry and wondering, what else, who's helping the rest of the kids. And so in addition to charter schools, we have an education tax credit scholarship program, and we have our education freedom account. From a federal perspective, everything is at the state level in school choice, but there has been some discussion about a federal tax credit that could be available to people like, that run scholarship organizations at the state level. And so I'm wondering if you could just talk a little bit about that and what your opinion is about that federal tax credit, because if New Hampshire could offer also federal tax credits in addition to our state tax credit, it would incentivize more people to donate to the scholarships for kids. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about that.
I think the first thing that needs to be said is people assume that when you talk about charter schools, or you talk about homeschoolers, or you talk about private schools, that you are saying that public schools are not good. That's not what we're saying. That's never been what we're saying. Public schools have their place too. This is about how do we have as many options for parents and students as possible. We know it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. And so for me, from the federal level, I want to give you as many options as possible. If we can give you those tax credits and vouchers that go all the way from whether you want a homeschool or charter school or private school or public school, we want to do that. And for all those teachers that worry about what this means competition for you too, because everybody's going to be fighting for every teacher. And what this means for school administrators, public school administrators that worry what this means for them, this means that you're going to see education's more focused on where your role is in that too. And so I think it's good for everybody when we can go and give you as many options and say you go where you think you need to go. Your student can educate any way they want. And this is your money. That's the biggest thing is people are forgetting. We pay into this. So for us to be able to get back, it makes sense that we use our tax dollars to educate our kids as opposed to having somebody else say, this is where your child has to go to school. So I'm in favor of anything and everything that will empower parents and empower students at the federal level and at the state level. Because I think that's when we'll start to focus more on innovation, STEM, all the things we need to do to get ready for the next jobs. I think we need to look at schools that focus more on vocational, schools that focus more on skills, schools that focus more on, learning different trades. We need to be doing all of that. And I think when we open it up, that's when we'll see them all come up.
Can I ask you a follow-up
Yeah, of
question?
course.
So in our Education Freedom account, a family actually can choose another district public school. And we find that sometimes that's easy and the public schools want the families and they come up with the tuition dollars and sometimes it's difficult. Do you think there's anything that you could do at the federal level to kind of break down some of those barriers? Like the lines in the sand, right? Everything is so segmented, right? You're assigned to the school where you live. Is there anything you could think of that could break down some of those barriers?
Well, think about why that happens. Every parent wants their child to go to the best school, right? So they all push to go to this best school. What about if we actually raised, the bar on the other schools? Yeah. So that you're not sitting there trying to go to that school that's 20 miles away. What about if we actually focused on the school that was right next door? And the problem is, right now, government pushes too much on what these schools need to do. I'm telling you, the second we start empowering teachers, if you ask a teacher knows exactly what needs to be happening that's not happening. And right now, they aren't able to do what it is they want to do, which is just teach. And they've added all these extra programs in and all of these other things. And you look, and it actually started when the federal government was mandating programs. Well-intended, but No Child Left Behind kind of started it. And then it went into Common Core. And then it's gone into all of these things. That's not what we want. What we want is states to focus on how they educate, and federal just know the standards. And when you do that, all of a sudden education becomes more local. And when it becomes more local, what does that mean? More about the teachers, more about the students, more about the parents, and the mode of how they do that. So I think our goal is, when you go and send those resources down to the state level, that's education money that no longer has strings attached to it. And so all of a sudden, when I say I want to see vocational classes in every high school, vocational classes in South Carolina would be very different than vocational classes in New Hampshire. And so that's why the states need to be able to decide what that looks like. Those education dollars may go to reading support. Well, maybe the reading support needed in one state's different than the reading support that's needed in another state. And so I think that it's making more of that money local, so that then all of the schools can use those resources closer to where it's at. So that's the way I think is that will lift up all schools, as opposed to having favorite schools that everybody wants to get in.
If there isn't a question right now, Tegan, would you like to tell us your story?
So I was here for 4 years. Starting 10 years ago, I was in Miss Stewart's classroom first grade, and I ended with Miss B in 4th grade. And one of the things that I definitely noticed is different about here versus other schools is that I wanted to come to school every single day. I woke up, I was excited, I got here, and I would give Miss B a hug. And I was like so excited to be here, and I learned everything that I needed to learn, but it didn't feel like I was just sitting in the classroom like, yes teacher, like I'll do this work, I'll get this homework done, School was fun, it was games, but at the end of the day, I knew everything that I needed to know. And after going to charter school too, it definitely has affected me on a personal level, because you get to know these students, you get to know different things about them, where they live, what their life is like at home, and their opinions on things, and it shows me a different side that I haven't seen yet in public school. And then I have a twin brother who also went here, and he is homeschooled now. Because that's what he finds works for him, and he learns that he can find something that works better for him because he went to a charter school. I go to public school, and my older brother is in college now, and he definitely sort of figured out what he wants to be a teacher here because he has the freedom to do.
Who has a question for the governor?
Or the next president. I'm definitely second fiddle today. Happy to be.
Yes.
I wanted to ask, my name is Maleki Rios, and I'm a homeschool mom. I've been homeschooling my oldest right now is 21, and I've homeschooled her since she was 12 years old, and she is in her last year of college right now. And there really wasn't a lot of support for me as a parent when I made this choice. I am a U.S. federal chaplain, so I am a really big believer in God and Jesus and bringing that aspect into my children's lives, which you know that you can't really do that so much in the public area with a lot of people. That's why I became a chaplain, so that I can do it anyway. But my question really is, what can we do to be able to help resource parents so that they know that they're empowered to do it? Because when I first became a homeschool mom, I didn't know anything. My church helped me with a lot of stuff because there were some moms that were already doing it, but I didn't really find a good resource available anywhere.
Like a parent network
Like
group
a,
where
yeah,
resources
like
are on the
just
focus.
like a network where people, but not like just a Christian network, because everybody needs to know that there are charter schools available, that there are other choices. So how can we facilitate something for parents to be able to feel more empowered to make these choices, especially if they don't have God?
Yeah, it's a great point. So again, as you know, we've kind of empowered the school choice process here, and more folks that are getting involved. And just like you, there were so many families that came up and said, "Wait, you're asking what I think?" Like they didn't even they were shocked that I can't believe you're even asking me what I think what best path is available for my kids there, and they felt so empowered, and then they wanted to engage in it, and then that opened up a world of opportunities. And I know I see Chris Brennan over here, who's our Deputy Commissioner of Education, who's joining us. So I know we've marshaled a lot of resources online now that this kind of was gone before, right? So it's the State Department of Education itself is, I think, taking a kind of a lead role in helping shepherd just basic tools and resources. Like, what are curriculum? How do you set up a curriculum as a homeschool mom and all that? And then from there come those parental network groups. And so, Chris, I don't know
No,
if
I
you
think
want to touch on that a little.
that's very accurate. We've had some events at the Department of Education for public charter schools that come on in, network with each other. I'm just going to talk as a former principal right now here in Manchester, so welcome to New Hampshire. In Manchester, especially being a principal, these public charter schools were our friends, because when parents were sitting in my office and school wasn't a good match for them, it was really hard to have those difficult conversations of, well, what else is out there? And under your leadership, Governor, there's a lot more choices that can happen. And it's just so wonderful because it really is about the kids and what's the best decision for that family to make sure that they are academically successful. Because I think, Tegan, you were really talking about feeling emotionally safe to learn. When your amygdala is off and is on fire, learning doesn't happen. And so we need to make sure that our kids are learning, that they're becoming proficient. As we talked about the test scores, we need to make those test scores, have them be higher, because we are going to be, and I like your expression of a world of hurt if our kids are educated. So.
And like we went through 5 years technically of homeschooling, and the same thing. Like we just had to kind of almost word of mouth. Oh, this parent's doing it, that parent's doing it. This is one parent might have a specialization in one area, one parent might have a specialization in another. So sometimes there'd be little pods, right, that would kind of work together. Sometimes separate. Maybe they do some outside the house activities or whatever it was, around. So I think the point is very well taken. If there's a way to start shepherding this, as more and more people kind of realize this option and take advantage of it, getting some of those parents and resources to kind of be a little more, easier access. It's all about the access.
Well, we created at Children's Scholarship Fund a new position just about 2 months ago called Education Opportunity Navigator. And we have an educator on our team who is becoming an expert in all of these pathways all over the state, because families will call us and say, I have a child that this is their traits. I have a little boy with autism who's struggling in school and needs an environment that is more hands-on and maybe some outdoor ed. And so we're focusing our resources into that area so that when someone calls us for help, they can get someone who's an educator on the phone who can help them kind of map out all of these pathways. Because as we create more opportunities for kids, we also have to provide that support for all of our families to make sure that they can be able to see it all, right? I mean, it's like edutopia here now in New Hampshire, where we've got so many options available that, to Belenky's point, how do you map it?
And it's gone from maybe a couple thousand families 10, 15 years ago to tens and tens of thousands of families. I mean, your network is incredible right now, and to your point, in terms of all the paths. Like I guess we homeschooled and we went to public schools. My kids have gone to private schools. I got waitlisted at the charter school.
Yeah.
We didn't get we had chairs on the other side. We didn't get, no, not just that.
The lottery is legit.
The lottery is legit. Ever wondered when the lottery is legit? When they waitlist the governor. Sorry, governor. Well, homeschool is here, yeah. So we have run the gamut of school choice options, and it has been a world of opportunity for us. My son Calvin just enlisted in the military and the Marines. He's so excited. He's so focused. He would not have that kind of drive if not for just having a few different options. My daughter Edie is very different. Leo is very different. Everyone's just a different path, and so that's one of the struggles too. Parents are like, wow, all my kids are going in different directions, right? But that's just it. Allowing them to do that and kind of experience their own path as opposed to just the zip code or this is where you got to go. This is the one path for you. It's just so different, right? I still consider myself young, but it's still since we were kids.
How about like the board of we have board of educations. I know you said you were a part of that. So how about mandating that? Because I live in Nashua, and when I went to my board of education, I just got a letter saying, yeah, you can homeschool, and they wash their hands of my children. And how about mandating that they would be able to at least point people to the Children's Scholarship Fund. Look, maybe we don't have this, but mandating them to
show you the door.
Yeah.
To show you the path, right?
Because they are the board of education. I'm giving them tax dollars, and other people are giving them tax dollars to have information, not just for a public school. They're a board of education. So to me, a board of education needs to be a board of education, not a board of public school.
It.
Does that make sense?
That's it. They should be the central portal regardless.
So I think mandating something like that
yeah.
would be good, and if you guys would be able to help assist us to facilitate that so that there is more awareness, because Kate and her team, they work really hard for the people in the charter school, for the homeschool parent. They're working, if I call for some other place to talk, I'm talking as a parent now. I'm not talking as anything other than that. When I call for any kind of assistance that the government has or whatever, not that I'm in government assistance, but when I call for anything, even to school, it's hard to get somebody on the phone. But when I call the Children's Scholarship Fund people, I get somebody every single time. Every single time. Or they answer me within minutes. Within minutes.
And if I may, this is exactly what I think Nikki's idea, because so much of this is mandated by the feds, right? A lot of the money we put into schools come from the federal government. And they have so many strings attached. You can do this, you can't do that, you can't say that. So the idea that you have someone like Nikki that says, hey, you're New Hampshire, here it is. Do it New Hampshire's way. You're South Carolina, do it you're California, do it California's way. We're going to do it New Hampshire.
Yeah.
But that would give us so much more flexibility, because a lot of the mandates aren't even on how the dollars are spent. They're just mandates. You can take our money if you follow these 10 rules that have nothing to do with how to spend the money, but just how they want your school to run, right? And how they want your system to run. They're more, federal government is right now is more worried about how the system is controlled as opposed to the outcomes of the kids. This pathway says, we're going to give you the funds, we're going to give you the flexibility. You craft that pathway for your kids and open those doors, which I think is tremendous. So look, I just want to say thank you again for everybody coming out. I think we have a couple minutes. What's the path? I'm on your schedule, sir. You guys are in charge.
Thank you all for being here. This has been short, but this has been wonderful. As some of you may realize, some people are going to be pretty busy between now and Tuesday. And we really, really appreciate the fact that this was an important thing to do. I'm glad the press is here, because the story of New Hampshire can go out across the country. And I thank you very much.
I think we're going to do a little tour, maybe.
Yes.
But before we do that, I just want to give a few folks a chance to be able to come up and say hi to Nikki and maybe take a picture.
Yes, could I actually have my students introduce themselves?
Yes, please.
I would like to have them represented. Go ahead, Matthew, you start.
Okay, so my name is Matthew Mancebo. I went to this school 5 years ago. I'm currently a junior at the Academy for Science and Design in Nashville. The transition from this school to my current school, it was rough, I won't lie. But being experienced in this environment, especially for me, it was really helpful being involved with all the teachers and students, having such close friends back then. It really made it a lot easier for me to go into a new environment, a very different environment, kind of really focused on STEM. It was very helpful being in the charter school system, being able to go from one charter school to another. It was a good experience, and even now, I'm thankful for all those around me who have given me the opportunity to meet other people at government. But like Brian was saying earlier, our school, our grades are small. The current senior class is only like 30 people. And just having that, it's easier to be close friends with everyone. And being in such an environment where everyone knows each other, it's helpful for learning. And it makes it easier for all of us to just advance in our education and as we grow up.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
My name is Calvin Demers. I started at this school 10 years ago. I was part of the first class ever to, start. By the time I was there, our building wasn't even finished being renovated. I just wanted to kind of outline how helpful it was for me to go here, and the sacrifice that my family kind of made, because it took an hour to get here every morning from my house, and it was worth every second to be able to sit here with all the amazing teachers and actually feel supported was amazing, and I can't thank you enough.
Hello, my name is Deepthi. I came here about 3 years ago, and I'm now in 8th year at ASC, the Academy for Science and Design. And I would just like to talk one thing about how in charter schools there's such a sense of community going on, because the teachers choose to be there, the students choose to be there, and you meet so many people with a mindset like you who want to learn about the same thing. And I'm going to ASC, which is a STEM school, and I make so many friends who have the same interests in life as me, and it feels so nice to, grow with a community of people who are just like me and feel supported that way.
Hi, I'm Fabian. I'm in 6th grade. I came here last year. I'm currently going to Founders Academy, and this school, it really did help me prepare for Founders, because first off, just a great education here, and some of my friends from here did also go there, so that did help. I'm not really talking.
You're doing great. You're all good. Perfect.
My name is Lila, and I really enjoy this school because, they fought hard for life, Miss Gabriel, my teacher. But she didn't give up. She didn't say I quit this job because everything's too hard. And I really enjoy that all the staff here, they give us support. They don't give up. And I really like how they believe in us, they believe in themselves, and they believe in other people.
I'm Isaac. I was here last year. One thing I would like to say is how the school has helped me with going back and forth. Every time I need a little more help, they gave me it. They focused just on everyone and everyone's needs, and that helped me a lot.
Howdy everyone, my name is Mr. Dar. I've been at Charter School for about 9 years, and throughout all those years, these two charter schools, Polaris and Credo, have basically welcomed me, made me feel at home, and truly gave me a way to, think outside the box and open my brain to other parts of life. And, I feel like I really couldn't have that experience anywhere else, and, it was really an experience.
All right.
Hi, I'm Alyssa. I'm currently a junior at high school. I never went to public school, but I was homeschooled because of my life, and thanks to the faith and scholarship, me and my mom were able to use school and athletics for my needs. And now I'm just in class here to the scholarship thing, and I want what I got, and give it to us, and I want to allow it to be.
Charter schools have really improved my life. They're like, I love how you can just kind of be yourself. You don't have to feel restricted by grade levels and stuff. When I was in kindergarten, the teacher had to find every single loophole to try and get me to be where I needed to be. And Polaris just kind of it seems to be too easy. Here, bump a grade up in math or whatever. And it's just really great how all the teachers here are so kind and amazing. And I just really love being here.
Is there anybody in here that doesn't get it? Right now, again, we're short on time, people are busy, but if there are any of the students that would like to have their pictures taken with the governor and Ambassador Haley, come on up, we'll take pictures, and then I'm going to take them around.